international is not works. How you say the most difficult in all the times, you know, and I recognize how fast I can lose it.
What a cool artist today's guest is. I had such a great time connecting with him across the globe. I'm Jason Heath. This is Contrabass Conversations, and we are digging into the fascinating career of Heiri Kaenzig, who is based in Switzerland, originally born in New York City, and he has done everything. He's toured the globe. He's played with John Scofield, Art Farmer, played for a long time with the Vienna Art Orchestra. He's professor of jazz double bass in Lucerne. His latest album is called Celebration. It's with pianist Thierry Lang. And wow, we talk about all sorts of things. His early years, how the pandemic's been for him. I can't help but bring that up. All these travels he's done, highs and lows along the way, concepts that he focuses on in his teaching. He even grabs the bass at a certain point to demonstrate, which is a lot of fun. This very cool Swiss-Mongolian collaborative project and much more. We've got that all linked up in the show notes. I really hope you enjoy today's episode, and I want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors, Modacity, Practisma, and Ear Trumpet Labs. More on them later, but let's dig into this conversation with Heiri Kaenzig. The school year started for you? Or?
No, it started like mid-September. The semester is starting mid-September.
Okay. Great. How is the pandemic is terrible here in California still? I mean, everything's still shut down. How are things in terms of that in Switzerland or in Lucerne?
They try now to open up spaces for concerts again with limited places. Actually, it's not so bad. If I look my schedule now, you know, the concerts, if everything is happening, it will be not too bad because a lot was pushed, you know, April, May, where really the lockdown was, that they put the concerts in autumn now, you know, so I hope they will take place.
Oh, that's great to hear. There's no sign of any live music in the future out here on the West Coast. I mean, LA.
Oh, yes? No live music?
I haven't even seen groups trying to play outdoors really here in the city of San Francisco. I mean, I haven't even left the city since March, since everything broke out here in the States. But yeah, it's pretty grim. I think New York, some of my friends in New York, I think they're starting to play outdoors a little bit in some circumstances, but California, it's pretty rough for whatever reason.
Yeah, because you have a lot of infections in California. Why is it so bad?
I think it's a combination. I think things started to spike again, and then the government has just been extremely strict and so I'm not sure, but it does seem like, especially New York City has been, which got hit pretty hard. It seems like people are starting to do a little bit of playing. Of course, it's going to start getting cold there, so that'll be an issue, probably an issue where you're at too, but I'm sure people are figuring that out.
Yeah, man, I don't know. The thing is, everything is really unsure, completely unsure. You don't know. Okay, now the schedule is pretty full, you know, but you never know what in 1 month or 2 weeks there come other rules from the government. They say, no, it's not possible anymore. So it's really the situation for freelance musicians. They don't teach. It's horrible now in Switzerland too, because everything, they lost a half a year of income actually.
Yeah, it's so. I mean, this is probably a moment when it's you must feel fortunate to have a teaching job and just to have that stability. Wow. Yeah. And it's so tough because you've done so many things in your career. It's probably kind of challenging to have that, especially when you're with playing concerts and touring and that sort of thing. But how great! I was just speaking to a bassist, Katie Thoreau, a couple days ago. She's in Los Angeles and she teaches at the Colburn School in LA. Yes. And so she was saying how fortunate she feels to have that teaching, as a bass. That's but many of my other friends and colleagues, who are sidemen for different artists, I hope they're doing okay if they haven't, kind of spread out the work before this.
Yeah. And I have to say also, there are a lot of foundations here in Switzerland that take care about the musicians, the freelance musicians. So Switzerland is still a rich country, can give money to them. So till now, it's not too bad, The government is looking really good sometimes for the musicians. you got like this foundations, you say, like
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
who have money and they give it to the freelance musician, So
That's great that Switzerland's in a position like that. That is not the case here in the States.
I know. I heard about
sure.
it. It's really horrible in the States. What I heard about, it's really bad, and because I don't know how about the social system in the States, but it's not as good as Switzerland, I think.
It is definitely not as good as Switzerland. We could, I think, say that definitively. And it's been here in Stanford. I've been in San Francisco 5 years. I was in Chicago for about 23 years or something like that.
That long, okay.
Yeah, and so but my little time here in the city, I've even seen more and more jazz clubs close, and the just cost of living. I know it's not cheap to live in Switzerland either in general, but like it's just insane here in the Bay Area. And if you're a freelance musician, I mean, I don't even know how you can do it. You can't. That's why it seems like everybody's been leaving. So how is it for, I mean, this is a weird time now, but it seems folks that I've talked to that are freelance, especially in the jazz world in Switzerland or other parts of Europe, it seems like there's a lot of interest in the art form. I mean, what is the scene like over there for working musicians? Are there a lot of gigs or clubs starting to close like they are here in the States, or like what's the scene like?
You mean like now because of the
or we could even go back a year, 2-3 years or something, because it's so weird right now. But
yeah, I think what can I say? If you look for instance, Switzerland is a small country, and I know 8 million inhabitants, and what it's about New York, I think, about whatever. And there's still a lot of possibility to play in every village, in every small town. They got clubs, they got, people who are interested in art, they have clubs. And so you have really possibilities to play. But Switzerland is too small just to tour in Switzerland. So I have to go to Germany, I have to go to France, I have to go to Austria or to Italy to make a living out of it. But if you look how many inhabitants we have and the opportunities to play, it's a lot in Switzerland, actually.
Yeah, it seems it's a friend of mine, John Goldsby, who plays in the WDR. He and I've known each other over the years, and he worked in the States for so long, and then came over to Germany, and he just seems so happy to have had such a satisfying career over there. I guess maybe the grass is always greener on the other side, but it seems like there is an interest in the art form, that I don't see necessarily in the places I've lived here.
Yeah, that's some kind of strange, because jazz music, let's say, is coming from the States,
Yeah, I know, right? Isn't it?
There's much more interest in Europe in this music, and I don't know, or much more possibilities to play all these festivals where the Americans play. It's all these festivals. So a lot of Americans make their money in Europe. Sometimes I have the impressions, and not in the States. I don't know actually, but when you heard these stories, about New York, you play for $100, blah blah there for 150. No, I would never leave the home, for this amount of money, in Switzerland.
I was talking to a friend of mine named Klaus Freudenstein. He's in Bavaria, Munich, and we were trying to organize a small just bass ensemble tour here in California, and I was telling him the rates that we might be able to ask, and it was like that, and he was astonished. He's like, really? Is that just like for the equipment fee, right, or something like that?
It's like.
Yeah, it's funny because talking to people that have freelanced for a long time in New York City, the rate they're making now is about the same as it was in 1985. It's still $100,
Yeah, it never changed, but it's like the same in Switzerland. Never changed.
Now go ahead.
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, are you originally Swiss? Because I know you were born in New York City, or
I'm born here, but just my first 5 years I spent in New York City, because my parents worked Schenectady.
Oh, sure.
Albany, upstate.
Okay. Yeah. Wow.
So I don't really feel like an American, So, it's different with my brothers and sisters. They stay much longer, 10 years there, They feel really like American. They went to school there. But, till 5, I stayed at home, and then my parents moved back to Switzerland. So I'm here now.
Okay. Oh, so are you the youngest in your family?
No, I'm in the middle.
You're in the middle. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
we are 4.
Wow. Are your other brothers and sisters, are they musical too, or were your parents musical?
No, not at all. My father has physics. He worked at General Electric in the, research.
Okay. Wow.
But you can say, because of my brother, I'm playing the upright bass, because he was a lot rehearsing at home. He was a jazz drummer, hobby drummer. So then I saw these big bass ones. Oh, I want to play these too, So.
So that's how it happened. And was that in the States, or probably in Switzerland at that point that you started?
In Switzerland. Because with 5 years, my brother was like 11 or something when we moved back.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
And to Lucerne, or where are you from? Where were you living in Switzerland?
I'm living near Zurich.
Okay.
Meilen, but this is like it's like a suburb of Zurich. It's outside on the lake.
Wow. Okay. I have yet to visit Switzerland. I feel like a fool. I've been nearby. You pick the other countries, and one of these days, once we can start traveling. Yeah, I would love to.
Yeah, when it's possible. It's almost not possible now to travel. It's over. You never know if you have to go to quarantine. If you come back from wherever you go.
I'm so happy that my course, Beginners Classical Bass, is out in the world on Discover Double Bass, and we've been getting some great feedback. Here's Barry Green, instructor of bass at The Ohio State University, former principal bassist of the Cincinnati Symphony, and author of The Inner Game of Music. Barry writes about the course. This wonderful, extensive course includes 14 chapters of 66 lessons, varying in length from 1 to 8 minutes each. It is so comprehensive. While it is called a beginner's course, this only means that the course begins with the parts of the instrument, including how to take the bass out of the case. However, it also takes the player through the most advanced left and right hand techniques, including shifting, pivoting, harmonics, positions up to thumb position, tuning the bass, scales and arpeggios, as well as left hand techniques of dynamics, bow placement, articulations, including portato, staccato, and slurring. Barry, thank you so much. And folks, if you haven't checked it out, you can find it through the link in the show notes, or just visit discoverdoublebass.com/Jason Heath. This episode is brought to you by the Practisma Practice Journal. And not only does this journal track your progress throughout 16 weeks, but it encourages you to find joy in your practicing. And here's Susanna Klein, author of Practisma, on the topic.
I don't think I was very good at finding joy in practice until I started working with others to try and create a little joy for them, and then kind of saying, well, why don't I do that too? And the empowerment thing is just, these are all kind of related. I mean, if you don't feel empowered, meaning if you don't feel like, not, hey, I'm great, but yes, I'm headed in the right direction. I'm making progress. In the future, things will be good, better.
I'm a big fan of this journal. I've gone through all 16 weeks myself on my own personal journey. It is so cool what Susanna's created. It's packed with research-based strategies to turn your ho-hum practice into extraordinary practice, and it really works. Learn more at practisma.com, where you can download the introductory chapter of the journal for free. And thank you so much for sponsoring the podcast. Oh, I know. It's crazy. Yeah, I haven't even crossed.
Start changing so quick,
Mm-hmm. I know.
It's really.
I know. I haven't even crossed the bridge to get to to get to Berkeley. I've just been on this little peninsula for 7-8 months. It's really weird, but
you cannot.
No, we can't. We can't. No, we can. They're not preventing me from going to the next town. But I just have been sitting here staring out this window for the last 6 months.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Talking to people and the like. But so was jazz? What was the jazz scene like when you were young in Switzerland? Were people interested, or has that increased over the years, or what?
The thing is, I started I didn't start it in my career like in Switzerland. It was in Austria.
Okay.
So I went when I was young to study in Graz and Vienna music, and that's where I started. So, and at that time, I was like about 18, 19. There was my first record I ever did was with Art Farmer, because he lived in Vienna.
Oh, that's right. Oh, yeah. I forgot that. Okay, very cool.
So that's where I started in Vienna with a lot of friends. With the Vienna Art Orchestra was like the birth of this big orchestra, and so I started there. And I have to say, at that time there was less interest than now. Now there's much more culture interest in jazz because the first of class at that time classical music was the top of the art. Mm-hmm. Jazz was like considered like I don't know like whorehouse or whatever music.
right.
But now it's getting more and more. You see all these things too with the universities. You don't have only classical departments; you have jazz departments now, and the value of the culture of improvised music, let's say improvised, is getting higher and higher and higher by the time. So at that time in Vienna, there was not that much possibility to play, but there were not so many musicians at that time too, I have to say. At that time I was in Vienna, there were 2 young bass players. There was me and another. So if somebody came by, Johnny Griffin, whatever, in the club, we could play with him. So I this was really fortunate at my time. There was not a lot of jazz musicians in Vienna.
Now, could you study jazz at the conservatory, at school at that point, or were there jazz departments, or did you have to study classical?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there were some kind of jazz departments, the bass player who played a little bit, but what I studied was really actually classical. That was my interest to play.
Okay, interesting. Like concertos and working through the Samandel and the different materials and that kind of thing?
Right. Because at that time, I think nowadays bass players are really good educated too in technique,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Profound, good technique. But at that time, jazz players were more like autodidact. Perhaps they had not a good fingering. So I decided to do classical. That was a good choice, actually, because when you want my opinion, it's difficult to learn jazz in school.
Yeah. No, I absolutely. What were you thinking you were going to be doing back in those years? Were you thinking you were going to play jazz even though you were studying classical, or were you maybe thinking, oh, maybe I'll join an orchestra or something?
I wanted to play improvised music, but I wanted to have a really good foundation, technical foundation. So I chose to make classical formation. Yeah.
Well, I would love to know how you approach like teaching and technique and stuff with your students. Now, I think it's super interesting, and there's a video that your school has of you teaching and going through and talking about using the entire body and everything. And I used to teach classical lessons to the jazz majors back in Chicago. That was my job for 9 years, and I always thought that was sort of a good role, but kind of a weird role. I was always trying to figure out what to do. Like, should I take them through Samandel? Should I work? Because I knew that the jazz lessons were much more about soloing and just, the teacher it was not so much the nuts and bolts. So I'm just always interested by how people kind of balance that. Like, what do you work on with people? Do you have a series of formal things that you go through with people like Samandel? Or tell me how you work with your students.
I was in Vienna, and then went back to Zurich to the conservatory. There I had a really good bass teacher from the classical orchestra, really good, and he made his books himself.
Oh, okay.
And at that time, it was incredible the work he did. Like from 5 books, he cut out the things. The glue it to a page like this and the other page, and he made like 7, different books, Halblage till composition. If you're interested, I can send you this. It's really unbelievable what this guy did at that time. It's not like copy paste. You had to cut and glue it and.
I would love to check that out. That's exactly what I'm into. So, okay.
I can send you. It's really good stuff. It's incredible good stuff.
Wow.
And I still take this for my students about the technique. I learned them a lot because when I was in Vienna, they teach me a kind of technique. I came back to Switzerland, I was 21, and he changed my technique completely, everything.
Really? Wow.
Completely.
Well, that's so interesting because I think about Vienna, and if I think about the bow, I think about even German bow in Vienna. There's a specific way of playing that I mean, there are many schools. Are there other, what else is different about the way you were taught in Vienna versus like?
Also, the thing is, the most important thing is it's not the bow. It's like how you go on the fingerboard.
Oh, okay.
Here.
Yeah.
Because like in Vienna, it was like this Simondl Hungarian, like more like this. And he came, you need to turn to say, man, if you grab something, you make like this.
Yep.
So we have to go the closest possible way to this normal thing. And he moved my thumb back and to play really without force.
Okay. Yeah.
Without, not really to look from the back and everything. And that's what actually I'm teaching my students too about technique. I developed some other stuff that they really can feel that they don't, make like this on their ear.
Mm-hmm. And that's so, I mean, that's important for anybody, no matter what you're playing. But it seems to me, if you're out playing jazz dates and you're playing 3 hours, 4 hours or something, and you're playing every note, I play mostly orchestral stuff here in San Francisco, and they're like, and I'll play, then we have 10 bars of rest, then we play, then we don't play the third movement. There's a lot of natural breaks built in, but you're generally, you're with the drummer, with the you're playing every quarter.
The whole time,
so if there's anything weird in your technique, there's a bass player named Kelly Sill back in Chicago, and I remember talking to him about this, and he said he realized he just wasn't quite initiating the string with the right part of his arm. And you think about, with the right arm, if you're doing this repetitive motion with your first finger plucking the bass, and you're doing that for hours a day, you can mess yourself up in a hurry. And it's like such a subtle shift to like using more of the body, so
But I say it's not. This topic is really interesting. I say it's like, my English is not that good. Even I'm born, I even have my passport American.
Your English is much better than my German or my anything. So so I appreciate it.
For me, it's like tension. Tension is tension. If you put, it's like a drummer. He put this up. Is tension. How you say it? Relax.
Like drops in.
Drops, so it's the same. I teach my students the same. Okay, you move, let's say you have really like boom, 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 a heavy bass line. So you move and then you use the gravity of the falling, You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Everything what's dropping, you just, and then it's relaxed. Then, okay, this is the only movement you have to do. And then take the gravity and play. So you never get stuck, even if you play really fast. It's always relaxed, tension, relax, tension, relax. It's like a bow. Boom. And then it's going. Zack.
I know exactly what you're saying. That's such a hard. It's such a hard thing for people to grasp. I mean, it's something I think about every day when I'm practicing, and it's funny when I don't teach a lot these days, but when I do, it's usually adults who are picking up the bass for the and that's one of the hardest things for them to usually understand is like, because there is, I mean, you do need some strength to play the instrument, but you really need to understand how to control the body, like you're saying, how to let gravity do what it does best. It's a challenging topic.
So what do you say? It's the gravity which makes. If you understand this concept of gravity, as a drummer, relax. Then you never get stuck.
Yeah.
But if you make or like pushing these two, then you get stuck. It's not possible. Okay, gravity helps you always. Yeah, and for instance, for this thing, I developed. How you say that they feel that it comes from here,
like their back, the bigger muscles.
Not from here. I developed really how you say it's actually really easy thing. I can't. You see the bass there? Perhaps I can show you.
Go, please, absolutely.
I don't know if you see it. Otherwise,
I see it. No, I see it.
so they feel. I tell them to put it against the wall like this. You see this?
Yeah, smart.
You see? Now it's a little bit, and then you play without thumb.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So how much you really need to how much strength, you say, force you need to put this down. Thumb is only to guide you. Never do this, so this is really good exercise for them.
That's a great idea. I've never thought to do that against the wall like that. I'm going to try that today when I'm practicing.
Yeah, and it's the same to get the sound out for them to control how much you need.
Yeah.
And make like this exercise, make it buzz, like let's
right,
as long as possible, so you can control what you need.
Mm-hmm.
It's a hard. It's not good here. You heard?
Yeah, exactly.
That's how you get more sound, because then I control. It's the game, the system. I lead. And then I push a little bit, and I get more sound.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What a great way to. That's such a tricky thing to wrap your head around. Because the tendency to squeeze is just so built in.
The squeeze.
Yeah.
The tendency is to squeeze. It's finished.
Yeah.
You can move. It takes too much power.
And it's kind of a subtle thing when you're standing with the bass, to understand how to not engage how to engage the fingers, like you really engage the body. It's tough because this is something I talk about with students that I think is an interesting thing. Students often think that the left hand is originating things or the right hand is, because that's what's most obvious,
Okay, can you repeat this?
Yeah.
Please?
Like if you see someone playing and you're kind of new to the bass, you might think that it's all happening in the left hand or it's all happening in the right hand. It's harder for you to see those larger muscles in action. Yeah, and, I use the analogy with students of like someone playing tennis. They don't just take the racket and go boom like that. It's coming. Yeah. It's a full body motion.
That's what it is.
Yeah. What do you, I mean, you sound great. I was just listening to is it Celebration, the album that with so that, I mean, you sound great. I'd love to hear you play live one of these days. What do you do to keep your playing up in terms of do you have a routine you go through on the bass every day, or do you just break out and improvise? Okay. Yeah.
If I have work to do, I look at this work and I repeat this. But what I always think is, when I have really time to work on something, it's intonation actually, because intonation is not the worst. I say the most difficult thing all the times,
Yep.
And I recognize how fast I can lose it.
Yeah.
Really to go, okay, half tone. Is it really a half tone? Oh, listen, blah 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 blah.
Yeah. It's one of those things for me, like brushing your teeth. It's just a colleague of mine here in California calls it musical hygiene. It's stuff. It's like brushing your teeth or taking a shower. You just have to. And I feel that if I haven't done that myself, everything it gets a little bit blurry. Try to.
Right. That's one of the most important things to me. Intonation again.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you do anything in particular? Or are you just like playing through things and are you just kind of like tuning in?
For a lot in the low register, because it's so difficult to hear,
Yeah.
From the E, F sharp, G, A flat, then I go chromatical up,
Yeah, those are the money notes. I'm so disappointed in myself every day when I play like an out of tune G on the E string. I think I've been playing for how many decades? I still can't find the E. But there's this great Pablo Casals. Quote, or I probably can't remember it exactly, but he said every day he'd pick up the cello, he'd play the open C string, and then he'd put his first finger on the D, and then he'd have to find the E. And he's like, every day I must find the E because it's just not quite there. And so if Casals was struggling with it, I don't feel so bad.
Everybody's struggling. You always have to intonate. Always. It's never right. Never. You cannot go, okay, this is the note. That's never what it is.
How long were you in Vienna? How many years were you there?
It's difficult to say. I started there where I was like two years there. Then went back to Switzerland for 3 years. Then again, I moved to Vienna for 1 year. And then I went to Paris for 3 years.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you bounced around a lot. That's.
Yeah, at that time, yeah. I was really in different, yeah. Even in Munich, I was for 1 year. I stayed there. But it's a long time ago now. Since 30 years, I'm now here in Switzerland.
Oh, so you've been here for 30 years. Okay, wow.
Now, yeah, almost. Because this was like when I was really young, when I was moving around all these cities.
Yeah.
Because I always the opportunity to play in France. I played the ONG. I don't know if you know the Orchestra Nationale de Jazz.
Yeah.
Really good gig. I had there, and so that's why I went to Paris.
And the Vienna Art Orchestra, tell me about that group. I mean, I know of it, but just tell me about that group. What's that group? What was playing in that group like? Or
yeah, also this group, it's incredible. The leader was a Swiss guy who lived in Vienna. Actually, he was the guy who brought me also to jazz. He said, "Come to Vienna, and you're a great bass player." He learned me jazz, actually, the first thing, I had the classical education, but I have no idea what a walking line, nothing, autumn leaves. He told me, he showed me the chords on the piano. Okay, this is autumn leaves, this is a bass line, and transcribe. Jazz I learned by playing and by myself listening to records, not at school. And so this guy, Matthias Rög, he was a really very clever guy, very good organizer. And it started like a chaotic band of 15 people, all coming from the Vienna area. And then the big band, then it took like 7 years, then he had a really good reputation in whole Europe. Even we went 2-3 times to the States, I think,
wow,
to play a tour. And it existed for 35 years, or 30 years. But I left, 96 I left, because I had, with Thierry Lang, we started to record for Blue Note. This series, we had a Blue Note, contract for 10 years. Then I left the Vienna Art Orchestra. But he went on till 2005 something.
Keeping track of what you practice is so critical. And my practice companion, Modacity, it does it for me. It's so awesome. Here's Modacity founder and CEO Mark Gelfo on how this works.
Accounting before the spreadsheet was manually handwritten ledgers, and that's where most musicians have been for the last 200 years. And it's time to automate that and save some time and let people focus on what's really important, which is performing on their instrument.
And that is exactly what Modacity has done for me. I feel so much more focused and energized and enthusiastic about practicing. I love this app so much. You can learn more at modacity.co and visit our website for a special offer for lifetime access for this app. Such a cool piece of technology. And thank you so much for sponsoring the podcast, Modacity. It's so cool that it's interesting that you had that classical education, which I guess is really just what was there at the time, and now you've been teaching in jazz conservatory, and I think it's so interesting, like because here in the States, there's a lot of debate about how much you can learn in a music school setting versus like out on the bandstand. Of course, here in San Francisco, there aren't even that many bandstands to learn. And having a few, there are. I'm being a little bit unkind, but yeah. What do you tell students? Like I mean, are people still? Do you think the biggest lessons are still out there when you're on the bandstand, or like?
Sure.
Yeah.
I cannot just open doors, but they have to walk through themselves. We cannot. Yeah. What is, if I see, since I'm teaching, or since 20 or 30 years, I see the technical level of the bass players.
Mm-hmm.
And every instrument is like going higher. It's like sports.
Yeah.
Higher, they're getting better, they read better, intonation is better, whatever. Because there are now jazz education in universities. This helped to develop a lot, all the technical and the things. But the musical thing, actually, you cannot learn. You have it or you don't have it, I think, actually.
Well, and I think the same is true no matter what genre you play. Even if I think, I have classical degrees myself, but if I look at the people that were out working and really focusing on that, I mean, I think I learned everything outside of school that I, as well. But of course, the technical, I wouldn't be where I was without that institutional, help. Wow.
That's true. You can tell him good technique. You can everything, but if he can make music, actually, then you cannot teach. I don't know. You cannot teach. If somebody goes, I don't know, to the piano and make a G, nothing is happening. Another guy's come and it's a whole word. How you want to teach to make a whole word up or putting the G string to make a universe of it out. You cannot teach.
It's so interesting. There's a trumpet player in Chicago named Orbert Davis. He ran the Chicago Jazz Philharmonic. He started, and just a great player. And he was going back for a master's degree when I was at Northwestern in Chicago. And he was talking about an experiment he was doing with some other people he was working with. A drummer sat down, just played quarter notes on the ride cymbal, and he thought straight time, and then he thought swing, and he was just playing quarter notes, and you could hear the difference. It's crazy. You're thinking like a stick on a cymbal. You're like, how can that be? But it is. It's so interesting, the subtleties.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Shosho Meyer, the drummer. I don't know from there because he did a good master lesson at our school, and about this, about the thing, how it comes to the music is happening, and then he thought he can read a book and make on the snare. Baff. It's easy, Jack, and then he can make full concert, make the same stroke. And that's where actually the music happens, You cannot read a book and just make boom. So where's music starting? It's like a huge concentration on what you do, even it's just one stroke or just one note.
Yeah. And being in balance, like you're talking about that, using your body in the right way so that you can just get the sound, the freeness. I mean, I record myself most days and I listen and it's hilarious. I'll listen back and I'll hear, oh, it's tight. I'm just holding something, and then I'll record again. And I can be recording on my phone even, not even with a good mic. And I can hear the resonance happen. It's just amazing how that approach that you take to the bass or whatever instrument, how when you're in harmony with your delivery system, whether it's the bass or the drums or piano or your voice or whatever, that it comes through.
That's but that's to teach. It's impossible. You can make them feel it, that perhaps they feel the difference. But how do you want to teach them?
How have you these past 30 years or so since you've been based in Zurich? How you've been touring a lot in Europe? Have you been touring all over the world, or like what's your travel been like over the decades? Have you done less in recent years, or because I know you've traveled a lot, but what's touring look like?
In the last days, like say it's more Europe, okay, or. If I look back, I was in India last year, but with the Vienna Art Orchestra of my own projects, I was in Asia. I was in, I don't know, a lot in Japan, very long, Russia, Turkey, actually almost Australia, States. I was in Guatemala like 2 years ago. I don't know, all over the place, actually.
Yeah. Wow. What? Okay, so here's just a random question. What is the weirdest gig you've ever played? If you've played in India and Russia, I played a little bit in Russia, but I remember visiting the Ural Mountains. I was playing in Ekaterinburg, and that was definitely one of the stranger concerts I've ever had. Can you think what you've had so many experiences? Anything, or it could be a standout, a highlight too. But
yeah, that's difficult to say.
Yeah,
what I can say, in 2002, it was like Years of the Mountains. So I got a lot of money from the government to create a band with musicians from Central Asia. Mm-hmm. Because they have mountains, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, all the Pamir, whatever. And then we did a tour in these countries. Really country you never will go, like Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, the whole Central Asia, Mongolia. And that's what this is one of my, how you say, not weirdest, like, it was really kind of an adventure too,
Oh, I'm sure. That's a crazy trip.
1 month and a half in a big bus, we all these crazy countries which actually at that time you couldn't even go there, without diplomatic help, So
yeah,
this was really one of my experience. For all the musicians who have been on this tour, it was 20 or 22 musicians. When we got together, we always talk about this tour.
that sounds like a wild. What were people into jazz? Like I have a.
It was not jazz. It was world music. I had it's completely different. It was world music. No, not jazz at all. There was a little bit improvisations, but I had musicians from Tajikistan, from Mongolia, and wherever. And so I had to manage to put them together. We played sometimes together, not all the time. It was like a huge project.
Oh,
it was
wow.
like this first, the Asian people played from the different countries. They had his own band, like a trio, duo, or a singer. And then at the end, we played like for 50 minutes together.
Wow.
And so we toured in Europe and in Asia.
Okay. What a crazy trip. Did you bring your own bass on that trip, or did you, I'm sure you could.
I have my David Cage bass.
Nice. I'm sure it's hard to find a bass for rent in a lot of those countries. Probably not a lot of dollars.
Not possible. No. And the same I did like 4 years ago. I was in Mongolia again for a project, and I took my bass also with there and was even recorded there. A really beautiful recording. Agula is the name, Agula. If you ever can check out. This was like also, Agula, or it's on Spotify. It's written like this: Agula. You see this, Agula?
Yeah, I'll check it out.
And this was the same like with Mongolian musicians, because I'm a lot interested in. Not only in jazz,
Right.
My interest actually that more than in this, to bring other people together, other cultures of music. So actually I did, I did a recording now. It was finished. I was Monday to Wednesday in studio with a new project of mine with a great oud player, fantastic oud player, great singer. And it's kind of jazz, but it's not really. It's not bebop jazz. It's not like in these terms. It's completely a different kind of music, actually.
That's so cool. That's did you start to get into world music back when you were in Vienna, like with the art orchestra? Is that when that interest happened, or more recently?
No, actually not. I was always interested in Indian music, And,
sure.
And actually, what can I say? I was also interested in Swiss original music,
Mm-hmm.
Swiss music. You got this yodel thing, and all the thing.
Right.
Somehow I was attracted by this kind of music, and my goal was to put it together with other cultures, to put bands together with other. How can this sound? Put this together, and I don't know when this interest started. You can say like this, I'm really open-minded. I don't play only jazz. I make this. I even played with I don't know, Nena, 1,000 Luftballons.
Yeah.
Like
sure. Yeah. Of course. Yeah.
I don't know. It's the most famous singer from Germany.
No, it took me a second, but I know exactly who. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Thousands. Her big.
Yeah, that was like in the 80s, I think, or early 90s. Yeah. No, I remember that song very well. Yeah.
I played with her only in studio, so I never was like, I don't do this. I played, yeah.
Wow.
I played a lot of different stuff.
Yeah, what was that? Was that project in Mongolia? That recent one, was that a world music type of project, or what?
Yeah, it's world music because I put together our music, but the thing is, I wrote the music there for them, and the guy from Mongolia was like a project. He arranged my music, and I arranged his music.
Okay. Wow.
So, and then we went to Mongolia to play, and we made the CD, and they come here to Europe. We played, yeah. Really interesting, beautiful collaboration. Really beautiful.
What's Mongolia like? I'm curious because one of my former students he's a bassist in the opera orchestra in Chicago, and his girlfriend, or maybe fiance, I can't remember, but she's from Mongolia, and he was just telling me I believe he's visited. She's from there, but he was just saying it sounds like an amazing. I don't remember what city she's from, but it sounds like I picture in my mind tundra and animals wandering.
It's for me, it was really interesting. I was 2002 there in the for one project, and then now again, like 5 years, I don't know, 4 years again, and it changed completely the town. I got these skyscrapers in how you say Ulaanbaatar is the main town.
Okay, and
there are 3 million inhabitants in a big country, and 1.5 million is living in Ulaanbaatar, half of the population.
Wow.
As soon as you get out, it's just like this tundra and green and horses, and it's was really, how can I say, it's completely different from our life here. It's really another planet. The first time I I arrived like 2002 or 3. I thought the plane arrived at Mars or somewhere, or
right.
Jupiter, and strange, landscape, and it was really a nice experience. And the record went really good out. Yeah, we did the CD.
Cool. Well, you're giving me all sorts of great listening for the weekend. It's so cool to go to someplace so different from, Switzerland or where I live here. I took a youth orchestra. I used to do youth orchestra conducting. I took a group of students to Cuba a few years ago, which is very different. I don't know have you been to Cuba?
No, never. That's one thing I never have been. Not in Brazil, not in Cuba. That's missing. I love Brazilian music. I would love to go, but till now, no chance. I don't know why. It never happened.
Yeah, well, hopefully it'll after travel starts to get a little more normal. Maybe we'll both find ourselves in Brazil. Who knows, for some sort of festival. That Cuba trip, though, especially living here in the States and having a country so close to you be so utterly different. I mean, that was a crazy trip, but a great trip, and a great trip to do with young people too, to sort of see their eyes being opened. I was with a bunch of 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds, and to do musical projects with them. They're the exact same age, right? But so similar, but also so different. And the music they were playing was so different. All these people getting up and playing all these violin pieces that nobody learns or has ever heard, and then you can almost see Florida from there. It's so close, but those are such valuable experiences.
Yeah, that's true. Really big, valuable. It's the right term of it. Oh, I think traveling is, as a musician, you have to like to travel.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you will get sick in this job, because you travel the whole time. I like flying, for instance, I don't know why, but I like to go on the plane, go somewhere. It's not too long, Japan is pretty much long for me, fly, 13 hours or something.
That's a rough one. Yeah. That's a long one.
Yeah, it's a long one. Yeah.
Australia is even worse, though. Europe to Australia I was in Australia in November, and that's bad enough from the West Coast, and I'm already, I'm as close as you can get in the U.S. But it was a whopping. I don't remember how long it was. It was like 17 hours or something crazy like that. But I know it's just as bad because I think you have to transfer usually from Europe.
Yeah, we have to transfer. We flew to Singapore. It's already a long trip from here to go to Singapore. And then from Singapore, I think you're halfway, you're again 10 hours or so. It was like 25 hours trip.
Well, that's even 17 hours, which is still long, but it's not 25. It's so weird coming from California to Australia because it looks so similar. We're a Mediterranean climate, they're a Mediterranean climate. And it's funny, you fly and it's just Pacific Ocean. The next bit of land you see is Australia, and then you get off the plane and you're looking around and you're like, did I leave California? But I know it's a little different from Switzerland. But that's such a cool. I love traveling too. And this is the longest period in my adult life I haven't traveled. Have you traveled during the pandemic at all, or have you been pretty much staying?
No, there's no possibility. No travel. No. Not no concerts outside of Switzerland. Nothing.
So this might be the longest period you haven't traveled either, I'm guessing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the longest travel, and it was not bad actually. That once they stopped this whole crazy thing about running around like crazy, to get like a seat from another point of view. For me, it was this pandemic thing was really not. Because I got my job, the payroll went on, but to stop once, what you do for 40 years, like crazy, going on the train, traveling to Poland, traveling there to India. It's crazy life.
Do you think you're going to do anything different when things get back? Because having to have this pause, like I love traveling. I kind of love the chaos of it in a way too. I feel like I thrive on like, oh, what time is it? And trying to like, where's my base or where, meeting new people, going to new places. And, the only thing I've seen is my wife and the people at the grocery store the last 6 months, and watching my tomatoes grow outside of this window. That's but I don't know what I'm going to do. But do you see yourself traveling as much differently if things get back to, let's say, 3 years from now and we're able to travel a little more freely?
I think, it will start again. You don't think about it anymore. Like I thought during the pandemic, I was really like, I saw it from other point of view. You go again, I think, and just go this crazy thing starts again. Because I want to play, and I love traveling,
Yeah.
But if you think from an outside point of view, like this was, you think, boy, this is right, pretty crazy life.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, yeah. I hope that whether it's Brazil or Switzerland or if you're out here, have you made it out to California for some touring? I'm sure you have at some point.
I was with the Vienna Art Orchestra. We played in California.
Okay. But not recently.
Not recently. No, this was a long time ago. This was 85 or something.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Well, we got to get you out here somehow. But I'd love to spend some time in person. I haven't been to Switzerland, but I'm in Europe fairly regularly, so hopefully we can meet up.
Yeah, call me up when you're in Switzerland. Nice to meet you live in 3D.
Yeah, I know. It'd be great. But this is great. Thank you so much. I have a lot. I've been doing this show for 13 years, and I have a lot of people to listen. And you have been recommended as someone that I should talk to. They've said, "Oh, we love." And so I was going through people that have, and I thought, "Oh, well, let's make it happen." So thank you for hanging out.
Yeah, thank you for this invitation. It was really nice talking to you.
Heiri, thank you so much for chatting. Folks, check him out. He's got a wealth of material out there in terms of recorded work, and I've got a whole bunch of things linked up, including some of his teaching in the show notes, so definitely check that out. And it's so cool to be able to connect with people across the globe like this, and I can't wait to hang out in person with him. And I hope you're doing well wherever you're at. We are here mid-October. I record these episodes 4 at a time, the intros and outros, and I'm at the end of number 4. It's mid-October as I'm recording this. It is hot as all get out here in San Francisco. It's already into the 80s Fahrenheit, which is very hot for San Francisco. It's going to get into the 90s. That often leads to forest fires up in the mountains a couple hundred miles away. So knock on wood, we won't get that happening this time, but we'll see. And what else is happening? Can't believe it's October and I'm still sitting here in my place, but I guess that's 2020 for me, probably for you, wherever you're at. I wish you safe, healthy, happy rest of the fall. Oh my goodness. I can't wait to leave the city of San Francisco. I actually haven't left the city of San Francisco since March. It's crazy. And it's a tiny little town. I've barely even left my neighborhood because what am I going to do? There's just, and so I guess I should probably get out and go hiking and that sort of thing. But my wife and I got rid of our car a couple years ago, which is good in some ways, but probably a bad move in the pandemic. So we'll probably pick up a car at some point here and then get out and get more into nature. That'll probably calm me down. But and I will try to keep this rant or this ramble short. That if you've ever been to San Francisco, you may have realized this, or if you've never been here, you might not know. But there's a lot of nature within this city. It's actually got a ton of open space and forests and all sorts of cool stuff to explore. So, and we live on the waterfront in the city. So though I haven't actually left the city, I do find myself out in nature every day, pretty much. And on the weekend, we get out more extended, in a more extended way, explore the Presidio here in San Francisco, which is this big open space. So it's not as bad as maybe it sounds, but I am realizing, boy, I would love to get up into Sonoma or Marin or some of these areas north of San Francisco and do some explorations. All right, I'll shut up about the Bay Area because most of you aren't here. And I wish you well. And I want to thank the team that puts these episodes together. Thank you to Michael Cooper, Steve Hinchy, Mitch Mooring, Trevor Jones, and Krista Copper. Mitch makes beautiful basses in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Look him up. Award-winning basses, by the way. He won a silver medal for tone at the last International Society of Basses competition. MitchMooring.com is his website. I am your host, Jason Heath, rambling endlessly about the Bay Area. Apologies for that. And we will see you again soon for more life on the low end of the spectrum.